Welcome to the Motherhood Mentor podcast. I'm Becca, a somatic healing practitioner and a holistic life coach for moms, and this podcast is for you. You can expect honest conversations and incredible guests that speak to health, healing, and growth in every area of our lives. This isn't just strategy for what we do, it's support for who we are. I believe we can be wildly ambitious while still holding all of our soft and hard humanity as holy. I love combining deep inner healing with strategic systems and no-nonsense talk about what this season is really like. So grab whatever weird health beverage you're currently into and let's get into it. Welcome to today's episode of the Motherhood Mentor podcast. Today I have a super special guest with me that I'm really excited to have. I have Nina. And I first found her through her cutest outfits on Pinterest. Just the most cute videos, but also what I loved, very body positive, very like forward on just loving your body and what it looks like. And that was huge for me looking at fashion. So I first found her through that world and then popped up on my Instagram one day and found her podcast and just heard her story and just was really kind of leaning into like what she was talking about. I love the way she talked about things. And then recently she's been talking about tech detoxing with her family. So we're going to jump into that today. But Nina, would you just introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much, Rebecca, for having me. I'm so excited. This is my first podcast since I retired mine. So I feel so honored and so grateful to be here to talk to other moms. I think that is one of my biggest passions. So thank you for making time for me. And I appreciate anyone that's listening. I hope you take something away that means a lot to you. So my name is Nina. I'm first and foremost a mom, and I'm an influencer. That's kind of the simplest way to put it. I have been on social media since literally Instagram came out. I had a BlackBerry back then, back in 2010. And then the iPhone came out. I had the iPhone. So I have been on the internet since I can remember. I've always been a very social person, always been very techie. And I started sharing my home DIY projects on Instagram, like when you would just post a photo, right? And it was super popular. People loved them. Then Instagram stories came out and I started sharing my life on Instagram stories, just kind of tidbits. I was getting married at the time and little things like that. And eventually I just really grew an audience that wanted to be part of my community as far as marriage and motherhood and home. And eventually I had kids. And I think that's where it really landed for me. Motherhood was and is the hardest and most incredible season I've ever experienced. And I think all moms can probably agree. And I was sharing about the ups and downs, my mental health, and somehow randomly people wanted to know what I was wearing all the time. That's how the fashion portion came in. And this is what I tell people. I share a lot of fashion. I'm no expert. I never went to school for it. I just figured it out and I'm still figuring it out. But I think what made people attracted to my content when it came to fashion is because I was just figuring it out. I wasn't preaching expertise, but I was also a mid-size woman. You didn't really see a lot of that in the space of influencing early on. You saw like the very pretty, curated, gorgeous girlies. Not that we're not gorgeous, but I'm saying like it was very curated and I was not curated. I'm still not curated. And I think that's what really drew people in. So fashion was what took off for me. And I think that's what I'm known for initially. But once people really get to know me, they know I'm way deeper than that. Fashion, like this is how I explain it to people. Fashion is what hooks people in. It's the content that goes viral. It's the content that makes people stop and look. And then when they come into my door, they're like, whoa, there's so much depth here. She doesn't just talk about fashion. I talk about motherhood. I talk about marriage and mental health. I talk about, like you said, right now, we are going through a tech detox with our kids. I talk about a lot of controversial things and I'm very raw and vulnerable. And I think that's what people love about my influence. And I don't take that for granted. So long intro, but that's who I am. And you can find me at Balkanina if you're curious. And I'm sure you'll mention that at the end too.
Yeah. Well, and I love your content. I don't follow a ton of like mom influencers, if you will. And the few that I do follow, it's like they're showing up as themselves and they're talking about real life in a full picture way. And I think it's easy. I mean, we'll probably have to talk about this online, but like it's such a weird space to be in when you're creating, when you're being watched. Like I have a pretty small following on social media. So like, but even my like first few days on social media of like, especially starting a business and being a creator on social media, people seeing you and perceiving you and having thoughts about you was wild for me as like a recovering people pleaser, just like putting out myself. And I really do think it makes you figure out who you are. And if you want to just be yourself online, or if you're going to create some sort of like persona or a different version of yourself, but it's never the full picture. I mean, even with how much beautiful, amazing stuff you post, it's like real life. It's not the full picture of you and who you are and like what's going on behind the scenes. So I'm curious for you, like leading up to this tech detox that your family is doing, what has your relationship with social media been like, both as like a consumer, but also as a creator?
Yeah, I think for me, technology and social media, especially the influencer social media part of it, was very organic from the start. So I never really had a plan or a boundary or a mission. It was always just organic. And I think that sounds nice, but honestly, when you do go into the business side of it, it's not good. It's not good to put everything out there without a boundary. As we know, boundaries are very important. And for me, I didn't have any boundaries for the longest time. And I've learned I've been on social media for 10 plus years and it wasn't even until like the last 6 years that I started setting boundaries, that boundaries are extremely important. For me, because it was so organic, I was so consumed by it. I was constantly like seeking that connection, constantly seeking the dopamine. For me, someone messaging me, someone commenting, someone liking was a constant dopamine hit. Yeah. And I'm a recovering people pleaser. I'm a perfectionist. I'm the eldest daughter. I'm a refugee. I have all the things that mean I'm going to want that, right? Like I want that constant like reassurance, the constant like need for someone else to tell me that I'm good enough. So for me, it was a really hard thing to unlearn that I'm worthy in this space, even when I set boundaries. I literally used to go like no days without answering a single DM. And I get thousands of DMs a day. So I would literally be like, I cannot go to sleep until every single message is answered. And I'm at the point where I'm like, you know what? Like, I can't do that. No one can physically answer 1,000 emails every single day without not getting anything else done. So I have learned boundaries the hard way, and I'm in a really good place with that.
Yeah. Do you talk about like the boundaries with time? Do you feel like there were any like emotional or like mental boundaries you had to create with either the way that you consume content or even like what you create and what you put out there?
Oh, 100%. I mean, the emotional boundaries are every single day, I have to intentionally work on those emotional boundaries. Every day I get asked, please send my family money. Please share my GoFundMe. Please do this or do better or you're terrible. Or, I get a lot of messages. They can range from like asking for money to you're incredible to you're the worst. So I get a lot of messages, and the boundaries I've set for myself emotionally is that it is at the end of the day, it's a transaction. I love to be connected to my audience, but a lot of those messages, I have to set the boundary and treat them equally. And once in a while, they get me. Like I'll go donate to people's GoFundMes, and I'm only human. I have to still. I'm proud of who I am. I am a very empathetic person, and I want to help people, but the emotional boundaries are hard. I have to look away. I have a team. I have, that setting on Instagram where you can filter words. Yeah. You can set, like, I had to filter certain words. Like I filter fat, overweight. I filter Ozempic, skinny. I filter all kinds of like swear words. I filter so many things. So if someone messages me anything with those words or comments, it doesn't show up. I don't see it. So those are the boundaries I've set. And some people say, well, you're so soft, you can't handle it. No, I'm just setting a boundary for myself because I need to protect my mental health. So
Yeah. Well, and I think it's leadership. I was just talking, we were having kind of this small businessy mastermind with several, all like mom, women, business owners, and all people who are very empathetic, very like heart-centered people who like, yes, we run businesses. Yes, we're building profitable things. And also like our main heart is what we're doing and how we're helping people and how we're leading. And one of the things we were talking about is one of these women, it's like, I don't think it's talked enough about that sometimes the more, how do I want to say this? Like the more successful you get, the more successful you seem, the more, especially on social media, I think sometimes you become this pedestalized person and people see you as someone who doesn't have limits, who like you almost get stripped a little bit of your humanity. And it breaks my heart when this happens because, I've worked with so many women leaders who it's like they feel like they've been pedestalized. And when more people see you and perceive you, a lot of people see you as someone who owes them something. They want something from you. They need something from you. And it becomes really hard for you to navigate how often and how many no's you really do have to give in order to stay healthy, to stay in this place where you're not overgiving, not oversharing. And that is so hard for people who are empathetic. That's so hard when you're someone who like you deeply care, but like truly you can only do so much. We are limited in our energy and our emotion. And like, that's why boundaries are so important. It's not that those are bad asks or those people wanting or needing those things are bad. And it's like, you can't always give that. You can't always play God and like help and be everything to everyone all of the time. And yet like, I don't know, for me, sometimes as a recovering people pleaser, perfectionist, I'd like to just not have limits and be able to help and give everything. And I can't and I don't want to anymore. And it does feel mean sometimes. And yet on the other side of that is so much freedom and health, not just for your family, for you, but like the people ultimately who you're influencing or serving or who are watching you. Like, I think there's kind of a gross and unhealthy community culture for a lot of influencers and people who have like very highly perceived jobs. Like I think so many people, they've lost that ability to be able to be human too.
Yeah, no, that's very true. It's people, like you said, people see you as parasocial.
Yeah, that parasocial relationship.
It's like, and really, if people could just be a fly on the wall in my house, I'm just such a normal person. I'm just a regular old mom. I have the same things that you're probably doing at your house. I have a messy house. I have clutter. I all the same things, and I have all the same feelings. And I think what social media has taught me, sharing my life socially, it has taught me to truly set those boundaries and truly feel more confident in who I am.
Yeah.
Even though it took a very long time getting knocked down a lot, but I feel way more confident in who I am and what I give because of social media and because of the boundaries that I've had to set with people.
Yeah, I love that. So leaning into like this tech detox, I'm so fascinated of like, has this been like a long time coming? Was this like all of a sudden you started seeing and feeling things? Like what led you to wanting to do a tech detox in the first place with your family?
Yeah, so I have always been a big fan of delaying smartphones, delaying phones, right? Like it was always about the phone for me. And I have seen posts about it. So I would say I'm a young mom. I have my 7-year-old is my oldest. So I feel like that's pretty young still. I'm still learning. And I think as a mom, you're always learning. But
yeah.
As for me, I actually, through my podcast, learned a lot about technology and phones. And so I've had guests on my podcast. And honestly, had I not had that podcast, I don't know how aware I would be of this stuff, right? Like your algorithm feeds you whatever you are consuming. Yeah. So when I'm consuming guest interviews about this and that, then that's what's going to show up on my social media. So, and I also feel that with me, like I'm such a broad spectrum on social media, like you're going to find everything on my page. So I had a podcast interview with a woman named Claire Morrell. She's the author of The Tech Exit, and she's actually not really on social media because her whole point is tech detox.
Yeah.
I think she has a team who runs a page for her, but she wrote this book. I have not personally read the book yet. Reading books is hard for me, ADHD, but she came on my podcast and my jaw was on the floor. The statistics, the data, and she works for like government data. Like, so she presented all this data and I was like, wow, I need to do that. I need to detox my kids. So she specifically talks about a tech detox in the book. She talks about how a tech detox, because people think like tech free, they think it's forever, they think it's permanent, and that's very scary. It's not. Okay, so tech is going to be in our lives forever. All of us, we're using tech right now. So it's not realistic to remove technology from your life for good forever. What a tech detox entails, and it can be whatever you want, right? So it can be 7, 14, 30, however many days. I decided to do the 30 days because her data told me that in 30 days, you can fully rewire your dopamine.
Wow.
So for me, I just had this gut feeling that I needed to do it. And not only the data, but also I have a sensory seeking child who's neurodivergent. And I'm also neurodivergent, and so is my husband. And even though we were pretty strict with tech already, so we only allowed tech on the weekends. We allowed 2 hours on the iPad on Saturday, 2 hours on Sunday. I felt like 4 hours a week, like that's nothing. He had free range to most games except like really violent, and they had to be within his age group. I thought I was pretty strict. No, what I found out from this podcast episode that I did was that even the simple act of constantly asking, so like this was my son, he would say, "Mom, is it the weekend yet? Can I have my iPad yet? Is it the weekend?" And then one of our other rules is we can't have it until 11 a.m. So they had to spend the morning with free play. Is it 11? Is it 11? Like literally all morning would just constantly be waiting for that time. And that is actually a sign of addiction. Even though you don't have technology all week, you limit it to the weekends, constantly seeking it, constantly waiting for it and asking for it is a sign of addiction. It is a sign that his brain is seeking that dopamine. And he's already a dopamine seeker, and so am I, so I get it. And what technology does, it gives you constant hits of dopamine. So I knew that this was going to be great for him. And I decided that 2 weeks before school started is when we were going to do it because I wanted them to start school with a fresh brain, with a brain that wasn't constantly overstimulated with technology. Because at school, you sit and you have to pay attention and listen. And when your brain is constantly in overdrive because you're getting dopamine hits every 1 minute, it's not going to do well. So for me, that was it was literally, I like pulled it out of my ass. I was like, 2 weeks before school, we're going to do 30 days. I had no idea what I was doing going into it, but I decided that this was going to happen for our family. And it did.
Yeah. So we're in February now.
Yeah.
How long did you end up going? Did you go 30 days? Did you go longer than that?
We are still tech free. Oh my gosh, it's just like the coolest thing ever. We did 30 days. Well, so I think it's important to note that if you're going to do it, the most important thing you can do is communicate with your child. Because if you're just like, no more tablet for 30 days, they're going to be like, what the hell? Why? Yeah. And I think it's also important to be a part of that detox. I think if you expect your children to stop using technology cold turkey, but you're going to sit on your phone, like that's not fair. What are they learning? Yeah. They're not learning anything from that. So we sat our kids down and we said, Mommy, I always tell my kids, my son hates this. He's always like, I hate when you learn new things, Mom. Because I'm always like, Mommy learned, because Mommy's learning every day, just like you. Mommy learned that there's a thing called addiction to technology. And I explained to him what addiction was for his age. I said, addiction is when your brain needs something all the time. And I explained that to him. And then I explained to him what dopamine was and what that looks like. And I told him that me and daddy are going to do it with you. And I told him exactly what it was going to look like. And I made it seem like it was this family experience. Like, this is so exciting. It's a challenge. Like, at the end, we're going to be better. And so you have to come at it with a very positive mindset.
Yeah, so, not like a punishment. Like, you did something wrong, we're taking away your favorite thing. This is for the better. This is good for us.
Yeah. And truly reassuring their sadness through it is so important. They're going to be sad. An addiction is real. You're going to be sad. Like, imagine you are addicted to chocolate and you eat a bar of chocolate every single day and someone cold turkey says, you're not having this anymore. You're going to have physical symptoms. I detoxed from sugar and caffeine one time and I had headaches for 7 days straight. So,
and like the emotionality of like,
yes, you're going to have physical and emotional symptoms. Your brain is going to feel confused. So I talked about all that with my kids, and I think I overshare with my kids, but I also want to make sure they understand why I'm doing things. And so we did it for 30 days. And I think the hardest part was the first week and a half. And it wasn't even that hard. Like, I think that's what surprised me the most. It wasn't hard. I was just like waiting for them to melt down. The weekend was coming and I was like, oh, he's going to ask. So the first weekend he asked, he was like, Mom, are we doing the thing or can I have my iPad? And I said, oh no, we're doing the challenge. We're doing the detox. So we're not going to have the iPad this weekend. And he's like, okay. And I was like, what? Who are you? And I think it's because I prepared him for it. I think, and that's probably not the case for every kid. Some kids might melt. Some kids might lose their shit. But I think it's important to really hold your ground, hold the boundary, and reassure, like, I know you're sad. I know you love your iPad, and I get that you're angry at me. This is the plan for our family right now. And just holding that space. And that's what's hard. Even for me, like, I get triggered easily when they whine at me, and eventually I lose my shit. I'm like, oh, no, stop. I lose my shit, but I try really hard to hold space for them. And eventually they stop asking. So we are 6 months in. Last month we did reintroduce, and I don't know why I decided to keep going. I do know. We decided to keep going because it was just incredible. It was the best thing I've ever done for our family. My kids are completely different kids. They are independently playing. They are getting along better. We are using less screens as a family. We're more connected. We have family game nights not every single night, but we do 2 movie nights a week. So we didn't completely get rid of like TV. And this is a whole another topic, but TV isn't necessarily considered interactive tech depending on how you use it, right? Like if you're going to watch a movie or a show that has a beginning and an end and a purpose and you're experiencing a story, that's not considered interactive tech. So for us, we left 2 to 3 movie nights a week in because parents need a break. Okay. Like, sit down, we're going to watch a movie, but we told our kids, like, it's going to be an experience. We're going to sit on the couch as a family. We're going to eat popcorn. And so our kids are holding longer conversations with us, with each other. They're outside more. And one of the coolest thing that happened with it, I texted my neighbors because our kids play together all the time. And they're also my close friends. I said, we're doing a tech detox. Can you guys do it with us so the kids can? And they did. They're doing it with us. They're doing it their own way. Like, their kids still get tech. But when I text, hey, kids are going outside, send your kids out. Like, all of them are in it together. And my kids feel less alone. They know there's other kids who also are being restricted this and that. And so, attention span has improved. My sensory seeking kiddo, neurodivergent kiddo at school is doing amazing. It's just life-changing. And he asks, like, maybe once a month, he'll say, Mom, it's been longer than 30 days. Like, you said only 30 days. And I said, you know what? I have learned that this has done amazing things for our brains, and I want to keep going. And that doesn't mean it's forever. So last month we did reintroduce 1 day on the weekend for 1 hour. We get to do Mario Kart as a family. So that's been reintroduced. I don't know what the next steps are. I'm deathly afraid of the iPad conversation because I don't ever want to reintroduce that, but
Well, you don't have to,
we'll
right?
cross
Like,
that bridge when it gets when we
yeah.
get there.
Yeah. I'm curious, we've talked about like how this impacted your kids. Like, how did it feel for you and your husband? Like, did you also fully give up like all interactive tech? And I'm so interested of like, how did you do that when you work on social media? Like, what does that look like for you?
Well, so for me, obviously I couldn't. I work on
Yeah.
social media. So the boundaries I set for myself is first I did a 10-day phone detox. So it
Mhm.
wasn't a full phone detox. Like I still had to work from my phone,
Yeah.
but it was more so how I view my phone and how I interact with my phone throughout the day. So like one of the challenges was don't take your phone into the bathroom. Like spend the whole day without taking your phone into the bathroom. And then another one was don't have a phone zone. So one day spend a whole day or like every night have a zone in your home where you put your phone from 5 to 7 or whatever. And then another one was don't scroll before bed. It was like little things, like things that
Yeah.
should be simple but are not.
Yeah.
Things that we should be doing anyway, but we're not. So that's how I detoxed myself, quote unquote. And another thing I did is set more strict work limits as far as when am I on my phone for work and time blocking. So like if I'm creating content between 10 and 1, I'm locking Instagram. I'm locking the app because I don't need to be in there to make a video, right? And then I have like a time where from like 9 to 11 where I do like research and editing. And that is when I will spend time in the apps and gathering data and gathering content. But I'm very blessed. I have a team who also does that for me. And I literally couldn't tell you what's trending right now because I have a marketing girl who literally just every week gives me a report and says, this is what's trending. This is this is that, this is that. And she tells me what kind of content we could be creating with it. And so I have very strict limits. My husband, he has never been a big social media person anyway. For him, I think the hardest was giving up Facebook Marketplace.
Oh
He's
my
like,
gosh. My husband in Facebook Marketplace. I was like, what are
is
you
it?
shopping for? Why do like no?
They're like boomers. They're
My husband's a redneck. So he's like, I always see those memes that it's like, I'm not worried my husband's talking to another girl. I'm worried he's talking to some like other redneck who's selling a dump truck. Like literally this summer.
a tractor.
He goes,
Yes, my
"Babe, I
husband.
found a dump truck." I was like, we don't need to buy a dump truck. He's like, but we need one. I was like, so we do what normal people do and we go rent one for a day. We're not going to buy it
My
from
husband is the
Facebook
same way.
Marketplace.
No, seriously,
Oh
my
my
husband
God.
is the same way. He'll like, oh, I found a tractor. For what? We live in the middle of a suburb. Like,
Look at this cool old box Chevy I found. I'm like, no more old trucks.
yeah. So for him, that was hard. But I think
Oh gosh.
for him, I think out of any of us, it was the easiest to give it up. He's not,
Yeah.
he has a lot better self-control. Like we'll say, put the phones away and he'll put it away.
Yeah.
So, whereas I'm like reaching for it. And I do want to say, with all of that said, it is not easy. It is extremely easy. It's not easy to do it, but it is easy to grab your phone. It's easy to get sucked in. It's easy to scroll. It's easy to consume. I have to battle with it every single day. And some days I'm better than others. Like the other night, I stayed up until 1 a.m. scrolling on TikTok. For what reason? Zero reasons.
Oh, it's so easy. I mean, it is addictive. And also, I mean, TikTok is so much more addictive to me. It's like their algorithm is just so good sometimes. But I know for me, I think when I talk to a lot of women and business owners and moms about this, it's like, especially people who work on social media, it's very hard to like, how do you find a detox? How do you have boundaries? And I know for me, I take most weekends off and then I give myself, usually if I'm really like, if my nervous system is in overload or if I'm overwhelmed, I'll usually give myself a day or two during the week where I just don't go on it. Like I'm not an influencer, right? So like I have a different relationship to it business wise where like I don't need to be on there. multiple times a day. Like that's not really what my business requires of me, even though I can definitely use that as like, oh, I'm working. And then oops, accidentally I went and did my post, but now I've been scrolling for 30, 40 minutes. Like, does that actually serve me? What has worked really well for me is I needed a new phone. And so now my old phone is my work phone. So my new phone does not have social media on it. And all of my social media is on my work phone. So literally when I'm not working, it's a lot easier for me where like social media doesn't leave the house with me anymore. It's not like I have to go get a different phone to do my social media. And it's been nice for me because it's created like a cleaner boundary where like, you know, for your kids, it was almost easier to just say like no iPads than having to do like, okay, iPads 2 hours on a Saturday. Because for a long time for me, just having screen time limits, I got like, I think it was the Be Present app that worked for a while. But in this last season, I've been more dysregulated than I normally have been, more overwhelmed, more like sensory seeking, more ADHD. And so it's just like, I need a cleaner boundary here that like I don't have to maintain. So it's almost like the phone holds the boundary for me. So that's worked really well for me because I still have access to it. I can still go on it, but it's not that I don't end up there accidentally anymore. If that makes sense.
That's absolutely genius. I love that. But not everyone has that luxury of having a phone. I have two phones as well. And you just like, wow, that's such a good idea. But I actually have panic in my chest thinking of deleting social media off my phone. So this is an option for those listening and who are like, I love this. What you can do, and this is not an advertisement. They don't know who I am. There's a company called Brick. Have you heard of them?
Yes, I've been hearing about this. I've heard only the best things from people.
It's literally like a little cube that you put, it's a magnet. You can put it anywhere that's metal. We have it in the corner of our fridge and it has an app. The app is free. You literally do a one-time payment. It's like $50. And it was, on a side note, created by two college kids in my local town, Madison, Wisconsin. So what it does is you tap your phone to it and it locks whatever apps you choose. So for me, on my personal phone, my work phone, nothing locks. My personal phone at 5 p.m., all social media apps lock. And the only way to unlock it is to tap it, but you can use like, they have emergency unlocks, but you only get like 2 a month. So like I'll be going out and I'll be out and I'll forget my work phone at home and my phone will lock and I have zero access to social media unless I have my work phone. Yeah. So that's a great option. We have that and I use it and it really does work because it literally will pop up. You try to open Instagram, it'll say Instagram is locked right now. Go back to living.
I love it. Well, and it's like for me, you know, I've thought of, you know, do I fully exit social media? And like, you know, for me that like just, it doesn't feel like the right boundary for me right now with my business. So for me, it's figuring out what feels healthy to create and what feels healthy to consume. And I do have to be honest with myself, at least for me, of like, there's a very big difference between when and what I'm creating on social media versus like how and when I'm consuming and what I'm consuming. Because like, I don't know, recently, especially, I had to get off of TikTok for a while because something messed with my algorithm and everything I was getting was so triggering and so bad for like it was not good. And it was like, I can't be doing this on a random Tuesday morning when I got on to like look at dopamine decor and all of a sudden like I'm being flooded with all of these things that it's like, that's affecting my nervous system. But just looking at the impact. And I think also what we miss out on when we have social media, you talked about that too, of like when you take away the social media, like what we actually have is so much better. Like, especially those more analog activities. I know like my family has been doing not quite as extreme of a tech detox, but like we were just like, okay, let's look really, we've been sick for a while. So there's been way too much TV at my household. And all of a sudden it was just like, we need nights where like there's no tech. And it's like one night we were just sitting and like someone was watercolor painting. Someone was like playing with their 3D pen. Someone was like, it was so precious. I was just like, wait, this is like, I actually enjoy this. Like it's created so much more connection and play and like true rest. I feel so much more rested when I'm
Yeah.
not on my phone at night.
Yeah, and you know, the analog activities like you mentioned, those can include literally like folding laundry. They can include painting, crafts, walking, anything like that. And the reason those make you feel more calm and more rested and just overall, I don't know, I personally feel like my brain quiets down quite a bit. I
Yeah.
have ADHD. I'll do a Sudoku puzzle, or I'll be doing embroidery or something, and even just coloring with my kids, I feel like less busy. Like my
Mhm.
brain feels less busy. And the reason for that is because in those types of activities, you're using your whole body input and regulation.
Yeah.
So you're not with your phone, you're constantly getting dopamine spikes without doing too much with your body. You're sitting there, your thumbs, that's about it.
Mhm.
But with these analog activities, you're touching something, you're moving, your motion, like you're folding laundry, moving your arms. Your brain is or isn't thinking, and then there's a type of rhythm. So all of those things tell our body that you're safe. It's okay. Slow down.
Mhm.
Whereas dopamine is constantly like, hurry up, next thing, hit,
Mhm.
hit. So
Yeah, well, and for so many of us, social media can be so dissociative where it's like you get done and you're like, where even was I? Like, what did I even see? Like, you don't even remember what it was you were viewing or watching. And it's like, it brings us out of presence and embodiment and connection, not just to other people, but I think ourselves. So on the other side of this tech detox, what do you feel like was the best outcome of it? Like, what do you think made it so worth it?
like I mentioned before, the best thing that came out of it was my kids were completely different kids. I feel like I've given them, you know how people say that 90s childhood. I feel like I've given them that. My kids have a lot more independence than they did, especially my oldest. And I don't know about you. Like, I feel like there's a distinct difference between my oldest and my youngest as far as independent play. And I've heard from people that that can be pretty normal. Like my oldest is not good at it. He's not very good at independent play. And I think a lot of it was because I was constantly entertaining him.
Mm.
So he was my one that was like, I'm bored. What do I do? What do I do? But the best thing that came out of it is their imagination. And at age 7, they start to kind of split worlds. They're still imaginative. They still have this big creative imagination, but they're also like more logical and realistic. So they're being pulled like, do I grow up? Do I stay a kid? And I feel like this really helped my 7-year-old stay a kid because they really should be kids. 7-year-olds should be up to 10 years old. Like they should be playing outside and pretend play and whatnot. So I think the best thing that came out of it is their independence, their ability to play more with better imagination, their ability to socialize differently with other kids.
Yeah.
Honestly, one weird thing that happened, which I didn't connect this until later, is they don't get out of their beds at night anymore. And I can't prove if it's connected, but since we
Probably
detoxed them,
Yeah.
research says it is, but they literally would come into our beds every night, like nightmares, like they can't sleep, they're jittery, but they don't do that anymore. So they're sleeping better. It's just so many amazing things came out of it. And I just cannot express. And I think the biggest thing that people say to me is that they're scared. Like what's it going to look like? I need a break from my kids, but I don't feel like I need a break from them anymore because they are figuring it out on their own. In the beginning, you have to give them ideas and, you have to really set up your household and life to make sure that they are set up for success. If you're going to sit on the couch and scroll on your phone, like that's not fair. So giving them ideas like, we're going to do a movie night this night. You guys are going to go play outside this night. You're going to go play together this night. But eventually I'll like come up from my office and they'll be set up in the hallway. My house is a disaster. Like they're setting up.
No.
That's the downfall,
Just
right?
prepare
Like,
yourself for the creativity to take place with the pillow cushions and the
right, everywhere, cushions everywhere, chairs everywhere. They literally set up a therapy office one time. I came upstairs and I was like, "What is going on?" They're like, "Do you want to come to therapy?" Like, oh
That's
my
amazing.
God.
That's amazing. Yeah, I always laugh that like my couch cushions are rarely on my couch. Like they're just everywhere set up for my kid. And it's so crazy. When we went to move, this was a while ago. Weirdest thing ever. Somehow our TV was wired in a way that like when they did the inspection, they were like, you literally have to like unplug your TV to like sell the house. It was so weird. So we literally just didn't have a TV anymore. And then the buyer like fell out because they went and buy a car. So we had like a whole month in that house with only a TV in my husband and I's bedroom. So like it almost never got watched by the kids. And then when we moved, we just didn't put up a TV for like a month and a half. Then when my son broke his arm, we were like, okay, we could use a TV right now. My kids were so regulated and they spent so much time outside and they got along so much better together. And it really was an eye-opener for me in that season of how much we gained by not having technology. And I think I hear so often people talk so much about the benefits for our kids and like how we need to protect them. And it's like, yes, absolutely 100%. And also I'm like, I'm working with, and I see women who are like very intelligent, healthy women. And it's like, there's still comparison for us as adults. There's still this dopamine. Like I have ADHD and I've been really, really noticing when I'm on social media a ton, I already have an attention deficit. The last thing I need to be doing is giving my body and my brain less ability to focus, less ability to stay connected, less ability to like do the hard things to gain the dopamine instead of having that like quick, easy reward. And so I love that you're talking about this tech detox and how it can support us and like the hard, scary parts, but also like the good, amazing parts, because it's not just about what you're taking away. It's the space that you're creating by taking away something that like really, truly at the end of the day, is that how we want to spend our time? Is that like what we always want to be connected to and always looking at that? That's what it always comes back for me, is not this like, oh, this is bad and I shouldn't do it. It's like, this doesn't feel fulfilling. It doesn't satisfy me. It doesn't actually give me the things that I need. I still love social media. There's great things on there. Like I love interacting with it, but it's intentional of how and when.
Yeah. And I think it's important for the women listening. It's important to note that this isn't something that you have to do forever. And it's not something you have to do always. Like you don't have to start and do it for 30 days and then go for 6 months like I did. That wasn't my plan. You can do it for however many days, 30 days, and then go back to it and then decide what fits your family, what fits your lifestyle. We have a trip coming up to Europe. We're going to be gone 3 weeks and we're going to be with our kids 24/7. Like I already know they're going to get an iPad to watch movies. I haven't decided yet if they're going to get games, but I already know after we come back, we're going to probably have to do a refresh detox. Yeah. So I think it's important to note that this doesn't mean that you are giving up technology forever. And I think that's what scares people the most. I think you have to do what works for your family. Maybe you can't give it all up. Maybe you set limits on certain things like YouTube or certain games or whatever. Like, I think it's important to do what feels right. I will say that the research does suggest 30 days does rewire your brain as far as dopamine.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned the podcast you had on your podcast. I'll have to share that link in the bio of that episode. I don't think I've listened to that one, so I'll have to go listen to it too. Are there any other resources or things that have helped you in this tech detox?
Honestly, I kind of winged it, and then I follow a lot of like social media accounts, TechMD on Instagram, and I can provide you all the links if you want to add them to your footnotes. I follow a lot of accounts where I get a lot of inspiration, and kind of like I said before, whatever your algorithm feeds you is what you're going to consume. So if you're reminded of it, I think it's nice to be reminded of it. And then as far as resources, I personally have a guide. I don't have any education personally in this, but I have a guide on what we did. I have a guide exactly that explains why a technique test is needed with the resources and like evidence that supports it, what symptoms your children or you might have if you do have an addiction or dopamine overload. And that stuff you can Google. Like you can Google that stuff too.
Yeah.
And then with my guide, I have a literal plan. Like you can choose from day 7 days, 14 days, 30 days. And you can either do it as a family by yourself or just for your kids. So you kind of choose your own path. The guide gives you a path. It gives you an evaluation, and it's an interactive guide. You fill things out, you figure out how you're going to do it. And then I also have scripts on how to talk to your kids, and a lot of this stuff, I think what's important to note with guides, like a lot of this stuff you can Google, you can find therapists and psychologists and whatever who like preach all this stuff. I took all of that and put it all in one place. And I did that because I get asked about it all the time. So I do have a guide available, and I promised Rebecca here that I would give you guys 15% off if you want it. It's like $19 at full price. So if you want to add that to your footnotes, but also one other thing important to note is that at the end of the guide, within the guide, there is a section of how to reintroduce tech and how to do it like low stimulation and how to do it and and then like a triage tool. How can you decide, like, do I need to do this again? Can I give more screen time, this and that? So it's a very nice tool that I have not seen anyone have out there. And I think it's really cool for moms.
I think it's super cool. And I think it's such a needed thing because I think technology has become such an integrated part of our lives. But I also think it's a weird thing where people are still trying to figure out, like, how do I do boundaries? Like, no, like, what do I actually do? How do I do this? And I think everyone is starting somewhere different. And a lot of people want to end somewhere different. And so I think things like guides and books and podcasts on this are so, so helpful because we're actually talking about something that for a while, I think people just kind of talked in like, oh, social media is bad. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, but like, what do we do with that information? And like, how do we okay, do we just never use it? But okay, I love using it. And so it's helpful to have like that support and even just hearing the stories and the how-tos of like, even if they don't do it exactly how you did, giving support and doing that is always really helpful. And I think feeling not alone in it, because I think there's still, I would say, probably in the majority of people who really aren't worried about tech, or if they are, they're not doing anything about it. Yeah. Whether that's for themselves personally or for their kids. There's just a lot of people who have just decided like it's just free reign out here. And I think it's hard for moms who don't want that to feel like, okay, where do I find community connection? Where do I find resources where like I don't feel so alone in figuring out this like struggle with technology with my kids?
Yeah. And I don't know if you saw this study recently released, I think in the last month, that Gen Z is the first generation of all time that has not outperformed their parents because of the lack of brain stimulation. They're connecting it to technology. They're having to work less. They're kind of handed things through like AI and technology. And it's the first generation that has not outperformed the previous one. And they're saying the millennial generation, woot woot, is the last generation to have outsmarted their parents.
Wow. That's wild.
Yeah.
That's scary.
It is. And I think that our generation, I truly believe it, that our kids will make a difference. I think that if we continue to have these conversations and if we continue to educate ourselves and admit that change is okay, we can change our mind. I tell my kids all the time, Mommy is allowed to change her mind every day. Yeah. If I find something out that I think will be better for you and our family, I'm allowed to change my mind. Yeah. And I tell my kids that all the time.
Which is such a beautiful lesson for them as kids and then also adults. I think that is one of the main things that I think so many mothers are wanting that their parents maybe didn't have, is this continual learning and growing and maturing. And it's like updating your behaviors based off of what you know and the input and the feedback of like, okay, yeah, we were doing this, but like, guess what? This isn't working for us. This isn't working for you. And I don't care if so-and-so thinks and feels it's good. If it's not working for you, it's not working for you.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. The kids, they're going to come to you and say, well, how come so-and-so gets to have this and that? And I always say that's their family rules and values. Our family rules and values are different, and it is okay to be sad about that.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And they will be sad and mad sometimes. And also like that is, and it's funny because I am not a parent who just does things to punish my kids. And also I think it's healthy as parents to say like, it is our job to protect and teach our children and show them like, this is genuinely harmful for you. Not just hard. This is harmful for you. And that's different. I'll let you do hard things. I'll let you learn hard lessons. This is not a lesson I'm willing to let you learn yet.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because I said that to my son the other day. It's my job to keep you safe and protect you. And sometimes you're not going to like the decisions I make. He goes, I think I'm going to be the same way when I'm a dad. I'm going to be like you. I was like, oh. Yeah. I know you hate me right now, but you want to be me.
Yeah, we're in the parenting a teenager phase. So like we're even getting more of like, I understand that to you, this does not seem like safety and it doesn't make sense. And like, there's some things that I'm willing to give on. And then there are some hills that like, I am prepared to die on this hill as your mother. So yeah. Which is great because I also have a spicy one who's like, great, perfect. I'll also die on this hill and we can just camp out here together. Yeah. I'm like, great.
Yeah, well,
great. And the inner people pleaser in me is like dying of just like, just give her what she wants. And it's like, no. Anyway, this has been such a great conversation. I've absolutely loved having you on the podcast. We'll definitely link below your guide and also like where they can find you on Instagram. Also, I love you on Pinterest for your outfits, which is so funny to me. It's like funny that like when I saw that you had this whole other world, it was like, oh, like, of course. But it's so funny that that's very common, like that's how and where people found you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Rebecca, for having me. I love what you're doing for women and moms. I love your energy. And I appreciate that you invited me into your world. So thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I've missed your podcast. I think it was great. And I also love that you honored your boundaries and honored what you needed in this new season and just how you show up in the world. So thank you so much. And thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for joining me on today's episode of the Motherhood Mentor podcast. Make sure you have subscribed below so that you see all of the upcoming podcasts that are coming soon. I hope you take today's episode and you take one aha moment, one small tangible piece of work that you can bring into your life to get your hands a little dirty, to get your skin in the game. Don't forget to take up audacious space in your life. If this podcast moved you, if it inspired you, if it encouraged you, please do me a favor and leave a review. Send an episode to a friend. This helps the show gain more traction. It helps us to support more moms, more women. And that's what we're doing here. So I hope you have an awesome day. Take really good care of yourself, and I'll see you next time.